We're doing the daily Stoic entry for March 2nd. Title is Accurate Self-Assessment.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Like seeing yourself clearly.
Or like knowing how to assess yourself. Maybe clearly, maybe also may mean like accurately.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally changed it. I thought it was clearly. I wasn't even looking at it. I thought it was clearly self-assessment.
Accurate self-assessment.
Accurate self-assessment. Awesome. Okay, beautiful.
Okay. It begins with a quote by Seneca. And this is a short one, just one sentence. Above all, it is necessary for a person to have a true self-estimate, for we commonly think we can do more than we really can. Okay, cool. So he's saying like we overestimate ourselves. Like we see ourselves as being able to do or accomplish more than we can.
I also can see it
the other way,
that we might undermine,
underestimate
of what. So that's why it's like the accurate estimate is the thing that you're trying to hit, because the accuracy is the important part, not the under or over.
Yeah.
Over and under is going to end up in not probably the best result for you or something.
Yeah.
And we probably do this all the time because we don't estimate almost anything, like consciously. I'm sure subconsciously we're estimating all the time, but like, hey, is it like this? Like we don't think about it necessarily, or maybe I don't.
I think the over and the under is an estimation. You are estimating whether you know it or not. It's just that the accuracy of it
is
not good.
Yeah, sometimes you hit it and you don't know why. Sometimes you don't hit it, you don't know why. Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Okay, here is Ryan Holiday's commentary on Seneca's quote. Most people resist the idea of a true self-estimate, probably because they fear it might mean downgrading some of their beliefs about who they are and what they're capable of. As Goth, this is embarrassing, I don't know how to say that person's name. As Goethe's maxim goes, it is a great failing to see yourself as more than you are. How could you really be considered self-aware if you refuse to consider your weaknesses? Don't fear self-assessment because you're worried you might have to admit some things about yourself. The second half of Goethe's maxim is important too. He states that it is equally damaging to value yourself as less than your true worth. It is not equally common to be surprised at how well we're able to handle a previously feared scenario. Is it not equally common to be surprised at how well we're able to handle a previously feared scenario? The way that we're able to put aside the grief for a loved one and care for others, though we always thought we'd be wrecked if something were to happen to our parents or a sibling. The way we're able to rise to the occasion in a stressful situation or a life-changing opportunity. We underestimate our capabilities just as much and just as dangerously as we overestimate other abilities. Cultivate the ability to judge yourself accurately and honestly. Look inward to discern what you're capable of and what it will take to unlock that potential. Dun dun dun.
Cool. So yeah, it's about not overestimating. So overestimating, I look at it more like that's you're too egoistic or something. Like you have too much ego, thinking like, oh, I can do it, I can talk, like cockiness kind of, right? Now, underestimating is, and so he's saying it's difficult to approach it because the ones who are overestimating have to then face the fact that they are not as good as they believe that they are.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, the ones who are underestimating, the approach to it is hard because they have to face themselves to realize that they could be doing a lot more than they're doing today. And both of these are a difficult thing to like admit to yourself, right? But you're like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
Right. So
because in both cases you have to change. Like you have to come to terms
you have
with,
to come to some terms that
I'm
you're
not as good as I
so
thought I
perfect
am.
as you think you were or something.
Or like, hey, I actually have more to offer the world than I am letting on or letting myself offer the world. Because when you underestimate yourself, you actually contribute less. And so now you need to probably get a little bit more courage and like fire in your step and be like, hey, I'm capable of more. And now I need to go prove that to myself.
Yeah, I also see it in a way that how it's separating it, the overestimators or underestimators. And then one might think like, well, I'm in this category. I'm more of a underestimator than overestimator, I would say to myself, right? But the thing is, like, I think that it's a spectrum, and sometimes the underestimator becomes a hugely overestimator in some cases, and then in other cases where they want to, that you should be more optimistic about the outcome, you're way back underestimating again. So it's like we're flying back and forth, trying to maybe find that middle, or maybe we're not trying, but that's maybe the action item from this one is like, try to find the accurate estimate of your abilities or your self beliefs and all of those things, or something like that.
Yeah, like notice where you are overestimating yourself and where you are underestimating yourself, because it depends on the competency or like the domain. Like there are 60,000 places where I overestimate my capabilities, and there's 60,000 places where I underestimate my abilities, depending on what the task is and how much experience I have with it, or how talented I feel with it, or how much I like doing the thing. So I think it's about like, we all overestimate and underestimate ourselves depending on the thing. And now we need to get clear about where we are doing each of those things and try to bring that more in balance.
Bring this one down here, elevate this one
like,
from here a little bit.
Level out all of the estimations. Yeah. So I don't know what the daily action item from this is.
Well, I was kind of thinking of that, just noticing,
kind of
thinking about it and noticing it, and when maybe they're noticing of an opportunity where you can accurately estimate yours, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, hey, here's an opportunity that I can visit this estimate that it's being asked of me, and can I do this or can I really not do it, and before I commit or undercommit.
Maybe what's interesting is like maybe how you might notice where you're underestimating yourself, for example, is the thought, I can't do this. Like anytime I think I can't do this or something to that effect, I've decided that I'm going to estimate my abilities at this low level.
So cool.
So like anytime you have that thought, now that's a trigger to say, am I accurately estimating this?
Are you sure? Are you sure you cannot do it? Well, and then made me think of the overestimating is like when you hear these words in your head, it's like, I'm gonna show them I got this.
I got this.
You
Okay,
probably overestimating this.
My thing with overestimating is like I feel like sometimes it's sneaky. Like I won't even have a thought. I'll just kind of bump into something where I'm like, I'm not thinking I got this, but I'm behaving as if I got this, and then something will break, and I'll be like, oh, what? Like this?
Yeah, it's just like carrying too much groceries and your thing breaks. It's just like a silly things. You were like, oh, you took on too much or something. Like you were. There was a proof that you were unable to handle it. It wasn't like, oh, it's just, it was just a mistake. I dropped something. Oh, I'm just clumsy.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe, but would you be less clumsy if you took on less on you?
Right.
Or you overestimated how much you can carry or something?
So that's interesting, because I think right now I'm at a place where the bad thing happens, like the grocery bag breaks, I failed. And the failure is where I noticed that I overestimated myself. But
so it's like an afterwards type of right now. Like it kind of something.
Yeah, so like there needs to be something that modulates it ahead of time that's like, hey, this is the maximum, or like this is like risk reward, or I don't know what it is, but something ahead of time. And I don't know if that's also just like
a tool. Like you're looking for a tool that helps you notice those situations before you get into them. How do I know
I'm overestimating myself before I step in dog poop?
I think just by stepping in a dog poop many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just gets to like, oh, I almost stepped into a dog poop, right? And then it's like, oh my God, I win. I didn't.
So maybe with the overestimating, it's noticing when you step in dog poop.
Yeah, don't just step into a dog poop and say
blame the world
or something. You know, like be more like, oh, I contributed into stepping into it by maybe not paying enough attention or whatever. And you know, this is my poop number 4, so it's still new, right? If it's a poop number 77, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I see it coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Good.